Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we'll return with round 18 of season 2 of the F124 My Team career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here for the Singapore Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live a couple of days ago from Baku, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. 2 weekends in a row, we've qualified last and we've still been able to get the car into the points and get the car quite decently into the points. A 6th place finish at Monza, a 5th place finish in Baku, with, just a strategy that worked really nicely for us in the end. But far more importantly than that, finally in this series, our teammate has scored a point for the organisation as well. There's Sergio Perez, 9th place around the Baku City circuit, a track that he really does love. Finally means, yes, that we are not just the sole point scorer for the organisation anymore. Taking a look at the championship though, Charles Leclerc further extending his lead at the top of the table, 56 now the gap to Lewis Hamilton in P2 there. Carlos Sainz could be about to make it a Ferrari 1-2 in the championship as well there. Ferrari, of course, dominating in the Constructors as well. The big fight in that championship seems to be between Red Bull, McLaren and Aston Martin, as we are pretty safely locked up in P6 at this stage of the campaign. If you're new, please do make sure you get yourself subscribed as well. We're trying to hit 5k subs here on the channel at the moment. But yeah, let's head out then here to Singapore.
It is one of our great cinematic settings of the season. Welcome to Singapore. We're under the floodlights with the walls close and pole position up for grabs.
Well, the last time we had a changeable conditions qualifying session was back at Zandvoort a few rounds ago, and you guys remember that weekend Sergio Perez got the car on the front row to the grid. This has often also been a happy hunting ground for us on a Saturday night inside this game as well. Especially with kind of how qualifying has gone in recent races. I'm pretty certain they've definitely tweaked something with kind of how the AI act on a qualifying run as well. So would kind of like to try and get the car off of the back row of the grid for a change. It definitely is not a particularly solid qualifying car anyway. Definitely got it way more geared up towards races still. And it's working for us. We scored decent points in the last couple of GPs. But, yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have a little bit less work to do. As immediately we'll go purple through that first sector. Really struggling with the brakes though here. Don't know what it is, but the car seems very unwilling to slow down. Which is a problem. We are using all of the track width around this circuit, but you've got to as well. Let's try and find their limit in a Formula 1 car as we try and navigate our way all over the Anderson Bridge there. Just see on the exit they're really struggling to try and, get the car where I want it on this lap so far. I mean, this one is a bit more about just getting our eye in. We can just see almost doing a Lando Norris down the end of the back straight as well. So we have got to be really careful as we navigate our way then in towards the final few corners of this lap. We've got one slower car as well. That's George Russell, who is yet to start his first one. Hopefully he'll either get on with it or he'll get out of the way. The result nudging the wall through the final corner. Carlos Sainz goes to the top of the board, and through the final turn we will go P5. Quicker than a Wasser at least. As we get ready then to start our final qualifying lap here, it has turned into a dry session. And looks like it's just one of those ones where every car on a run has got an opportunity to go to the top of the board. We have left it last of anybody here. So could we be about to spring a surprise? As Gasly goes fast, as Alonso lowers that benchmark even more. There is all plenty of apex curb through turn 1. Lance Stroll hasn't gone back out right at the end of a session. As there we go, Oscar Piastri now to the top of the board. And Charles Leclerc, for a moment there, was right down the rear of the field. But now he's gone fastest. So Charles Leclerc is the last of the AI to do a lap here. And he has gone top of qualifying. Could we be on for an historic pole lap here in Marina Bay there, as we just run a little bit wide down through the end of the Raffles Boulevard there. We've got to try and keep the car, like I said, in one piece first of all. Otherwise we will be at the back of the field here, ready for the Grand Prix once again. Just like we saw at Zandvoort, we should have a bit of a mixed up grid though, which I guess is going to make things interesting as we try and slow the car up through this tight, twisty section. Avoid the wall on the exit of the Anderson Bridge once more. We went purple in that first sector. Are we going to go purple through the middle sector? We are 7 seconds up on our current fastest time there. And you can see we have gone purple through sector 2. We're nearly 4 seconds up on Théo Pourchaire. Surely we are about, as long as I don't mess this up, we are about to smash pole position here by a fairly comfortable margin as well. I wish the AI would go for their runs right towards the end of qualifying, but they always give themselves a little bit of extra time through the final corner. Surely it's going to be an easy pole. 27.9. That's got to be by near enough 2 seconds. Well, we went sub 1 minute 28. Charles Leclerc, the only other driver to go sub 1 minute 30. Pole position by 1.97 seconds. I would have thought that's probably the biggest margin since the weird aggregate qualifying they did back in 2005. But P1 on the grid for us, P6 on the grid for Sergio Perez. I believe that's our first ever pole position as a team as well there, although I could be wrong on that one. I'm sure one of you guys will tell me down in the comments below as well. But look at that, Alex Albon in P8, both Alpines inside the top 10 there. Leclerc, though, getting the job done. Hamilton only good enough for P7 as well. Russell down in 17th, Lando Norris down in P15. But what's going to happen as we head into the race?
It's the Singapore Grand Prix, where Sebastian Vettel has the most wins here with 5. Who will be lifting the trophy today here at the Marina Bay Circuit? This is a wonderful racetrack to come to, but it's sometimes been a bit tricky to overtake. We have a new layout to try and change all of that. Reduced to 3 miles, it's turn 16 and turn 19, which has gone from corners to a straight. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Mr. Monaco lines up on pole position, and Oscar Piastri completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Stroll, Fernando Alonso, Perez, Hamilton, Albon, Gasly, Ocon, Verstappen, Sainz, Leclerc, Ricciardo, Norris, Tsunoda, Russell, Zhou, Teo Porcher, Hulkenberg, Bottas, Sargent, and Ayumu Iwasa. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Well, here we are then down on the grid, ready for the Singapore Grand Prix. And of course, in the driver career mode, we've had a free view down in towards turn 1 a lot this season. In this series, it's certainly one that I think I'm going to savour, and Charles Leclerc has taken some grid penalties as well. Clearly feels like this will be a good race to not lose out many points on his big title rival in Lewis Hamilton. So could our fellow Brit be able to make his way back up through the order? It's both orange teams on the front row of the grid. We have got Oscar Piastri alongside us for company before an Aston Martin all second row. It's 5 red lights here in Marina Bay. And it is the lights out, and away we go there. Well, not particularly well for me, although Oscar Piastri hasn't done much better. We've got Lance Stroll trying to look around the outside down at turn 1, and I just tried to make sure that they gave him the room through that first corner there. But a brilliant start by the Canadian there to comfortably get around the outside of Oscar Piastri and really hassle us as well through the next couple of corners. Somehow we have led the way off the start here. Of course, we're still yet to win a race this season. Let's not forget, we took victory in Season 1 back at Albert Park, so I would like to try and extend that winning streak, if you will, of seasons to admittedly only 2, but still, it counts in my heart, and that's the most important thing there, is just trying to settle into a rhythm early on. We might not have gained many, well, we can't have gained any places, but we almost lost one. Perez, on the other hand, once again, has been a bit of a fast starter here, moving past Fernando Alonso then up into the top 4. I mean, if we were able to finish like this, that'd be a huge haul of points for the team as we steadily try and, you know, state our intent ready for Season 3. You know, next season we want to be trying to fight, you know, for at least points week in, week out, and maybe, just maybe, if things fall our way, try and make a push for a Formula 1 World Championship as well there. But, yeah, with Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes all further down the order, it has kind of left Aston Martin, ourselves and McLaren with an opportunity this weekend. Because, oh yeah, unlike real life, Aston Martin and McLaren, they aren't really the top teams this season.
This lap, you can use it when you're within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
I'm still expecting us to maybe struggle against the Aston Martin and the McLaren, but it is Lance Stroll in that Aston, so hopefully he won't be too fast. Ugh. Oh, Stroll there, just that, the AI love to go for that. They love to go for a send on the exit of the Anderson Bridge there, and well, I believe, yeah, Stroll was obviously Felipe Massa's teammate for just 1 season at Williams, but Clearly learning from the Brazilian there. Of course, his famous move over that bridge as well in years gone by. As Lance Stroll then to the front of the order. We're not going to try and let him hang on to it very long though. Straight around the outside, down at the end of the next straight. And I've got to be really careful with that wall, as, I mean, Lance, he just wants to go for it anywhere at the moment. As about 7 different cars are going to claim new fast lap of the day. There goes the Canadian again back down the inside at turn 1. I never thought I'd have a clean wheel-to-wheel battle with Lance Stroll of all people. There was Piastri, want to try and get in the action as well. And now with the DRS enabled, surely we can get a run down the Raffles Boulevard. Singapore, the real-life Grand Prix, was a bit of a snoozer this year. So far, they're only on lap 3, and it feels like this one's already had more action, as round the outside of Stroll again will go try and pinch him, and we'll hang on to that lead. Thinking from the team's perspective, it's probably better that we try and keep everyone bunched up early on in this Grand Prix. Sergio Perez, therefore, able to stay in the DRS of other cars. And I mean, to be fair, yeah, Baku and Singapore, you'd think on paper, 2 of Checo's best tracks on the calendar. He's now just starting to drop out of that range a little bit. But yeah, I don't want to leave him too vulnerable if we can avoid it. Although, admittedly, that is quite difficult to do with 2 cars between us there. I think he has now lost that DRS, so he might be a bit vulnerable to Fernando Alonso. As they make their way down the Raffles Boulevard once more, is Alonso going to go for it? I think he's looking for it. Will Checo hang on? I think he has. Fair play, Sergio Perez. But annoyingly, yeah, that has meant that he's kind of now created his own train. Oh, there we go. I think Alonso that time round has completed the move on Sergio Perez. So we can still keep one eye on our teammate on the MFD, but yeah, just a little bit worried he's probably going to drop down the order. Either that, or Alonso is going to drag him back up towards the front there. So again, just doing a Lando Norris there, nudging the wall to make our way down that short chute around the back of the circuit. It is a weird little track, this one. Tell you what I also wish is they had, you know, obviously they added that 4th DRS zone in real life. Didn't make much difference in the real Grand Prix, annoyingly. But it could be really, really useful inside F1 24. It just doesn't seem like Stroll's got enough off the corners to really kind of hassle us too much. You know, we're still under a lot of pressure, but can't help but already just start setting our eyes on when we're going to pit. Well, I feel like this Grand Prix we're going to be talking about Checo as much as we're talking about ourselves here. Immediately Alonso has just bolted from him and is now gone in pursuit of your top 3 cars there. So Oscar, Lance and I, obviously, I guess in this alternate timeline, none of us still are a Formula 1 Grand Prix winner. Obviously, Oscar... Oh, sorry, no, I am already, aren't I? So, I mean, your top 3, none of us have won a race this season. Stroll's never won a race in like 170-odd starts. Oscar Piastri is still hunting a first legitimate win, unlike the sprint in Qatar the year prior. So, I mean, all 3 of us are going to be pretty hungry, as Hamilton now will move past Perez as well. Well, I mentioned in qualifying how this car isn't much of a qualifier. It does seem to have some very, very odd kind of characteristics to it. Obviously, I'm nudging the walls a little bit, just like we did in Baku in the last video, but tyre wear is absolutely phenomenal. Once again, it really does seem like we've kind of set this car up in a different way to how I normally would in the F1 game. And I mean, I could be tempted to try and extend this stint a little bit further there, open up strategy for ourselves later on in the afternoon. This thing just, yeah, does not eat its tyres. It's incredible. And it's actually starting, I think, to give Lance Stroll a bit of problems here, because I think, especially in that dirty air, he has been working hard to keep up with us, and he's just starting to struggle a little bit. Oh, there we go. As we start lap 10, we've got that gap to Lance over a second, and you can just see he's definitely starting to back Oscar Piastri up into his teammate as well. So could Aston Martin be strategic here and try to basically swap their 2 cars through a pit stop and maybe slowly Australian down in the process? You know, like I said, I feel fairly confident about keeping Lance Stroll at bay. Fernando Alonso is a whole other kettle of fish, especially as well, I mean, at this stage of his Formula 1 career, he would try and take any victory. You know, it's a famous saying in motorsport, you got to celebrate every win like it's your last. But I think, yeah, Alonso's still competing to this day. I don't think at the time would have thought 2013 would have been his last F1 win. Oh, there we go, Piastri. Oscar Piastri's now made the move. So, yeah, I think that's probably not worked out as well as Aston Martin would have wanted. because it would not surprise me if we see Oscar scamper back up towards our gearbox. But Stroll is definitely struggling at this stage, has absolutely cooked through his set of tyres. I tell you what, yeah, I mean, most of this race so far throughout the opening half has just been all about watching what other cars around us are doing. But Stroll now has fallen into the clutches of Fernando Alonso there, but he hasn't lost the DRS range to Oscar Piastri. Maybe more importantly, I mean, if I was Aston Martin right now, unless I was, say, Lance Stroll's dad, I would be telling him to swap places, let Alonso go after that McLaren, and maybe try and fight with us. I think, though, our strategy here, what we've got to do is try and extend this stint a little bit further. If I keep that front right away from the barriers, we should be able to extend quite far. It'll open up a bit of a safety net if there's a safety car, and a bit like we saw with Lando and Verstappen, you just don't really want to be the first one in. I think for a lot of your front runners as well, you've got to be looking at that gap that Perez has opened up in front of him. Don't think he's opened up the gap on purpose. But surely, yeah, you've got to be thinking if you could get out ahead of that gaggle of cars, it could be very, very useful. There is still none of our top three in. Now we might just start to see some of our rivals diving into the pit lane here. But like I've said, I want to try and extend this stint to about lap 20. So we've got yellows out. That's one of the Ferraris. Not too sure which one that is. But one of the Ferraris are having a bit of a moment. And, well, we're not going to look. I'm going to leave the intrigue towards the end of the race there, because if that's Charles Leclerc, that is a huge blunder. Who's going to be the first ones then to pull the trigger in this Grand Prix? Alonso and Lewis Hamilton then. So they're both going to be trying to get the undercut, but are they going to come out in some clear air here? I think, yeah, Checo Perez way too close than to ever try and get ahead of him, but there are still a few more cars strung out towards the rear of the field as well then, as this is critical, as Stroll and Piastri still battling with each other at this stage of the Grand Prix. I think they're just about, I mean, that's going to be really, really close for Alonso. They're not going to get out ahead of the Haas or the V-Carb there, and in fact Alonso might actually get caught out a little bit behind him. I think he's got a bit of breathing room if both those cars pit at the end of this lap. He's barely come out ahead of that kick Sauber. Hamilton, on the other hand, though, has got to try and navigate his way back through. We go, I'm sure we'll see Stroll and Oscar then into the pits at the end of this lap. So we are going to extend once again, just like we did in Baku, extend our stint a bit further than everybody else, try and work the overcut, and see if we can have a bit of an advantage towards the end of the race there, as Perez as well. We've taken a second out of him every single lap on average in this Grand Prix. Certainly has been a more disappointing one for our teammate there, but is Alonso going to get the jump on his teammate and Oscar Piastri here? He's done pretty well on that outlap, and I think he is just about going to do it. Is he going to be ahead of Oscar? Yes, he is. So Alonso then up into P2 of the Grand Prix. Hamilton still stuck behind the Aston Martin and the McLaren car there, but Alonso's actually done it quite comfortably, and we've got to manage that gap then, because I'd like to avoid getting undercut, but we are going to try and go softs to the end. Oh, there we go, Alonso. He is pushing. Fernando Alonso, first real lap in clean air tonight, and he's going to set a new fast lap of the day. Tell you what, though, we're somehow improving through the first sector as well, so is grip just going up? Surely not halfway through this race. Well, we are going to pull the trigger then at the end of this lap. We are finally going to make our pit stop in this Grand Prix. As I said, we're going to go soft compound tyres to the end of the afternoon. Alonso will definitely have got the jump on us, but it might be close with the likes of Hamilton and Stroll.
Speed limit line as you approach, and make sure you don't speed.
Yeah, I think we've done very, very well, though, on these medium compound tyres to keep them going as well as we have. But yeah, once again, tyre wear on this car just seems to be really, really good at the moment. As we navigate our way in towards those final couple of corners. Make sure I don't get done for pit lane speeding. I also need to alter where the pit lane speed limit line is. I did nudge the brake then because I was doing 38 on the entry there, but we do get it slowed down, so no 10-second penalty for me this weekend. Of course, at the very worst, we'll come out in P5 there with a bit of breathing room, so I believe it's still... Oh no, Checo has been jumped by Alex Albon now, which is a bit of a shame.
That's it, go, go, go! That was a fantastic stop, faster than we were expecting.
As Alonso then another new fastest lap, we will see him fly by us in towards turn 1.
Let's go.
But look at that then. We are going to come out ahead of Lewis Hamilton, if I'm not mistaken. Only just through those first couple of corners. But it is going to leave us a bit vulnerable on the exit there as we desperately trying to get a heat into the tyres. There goes Lewis. Trying to have a look around the outside. And he'll even have the DRS out onto the Raffles Boulevard as well. So I'm not sure that one's a fight we really want to commit to at this stage. And you can just see how important having those tyres up to temperature is around a venue like this. As for the first time really since lap 2, we've got to now try and make some overtakes. It only takes half a lap for the tyres. Oh, just to heat up there as we went for a desperate little look down the inside of Hamilton there over the Anderson Bridge. The AI can do it to me. I definitely can't seem to do it back to the AI there. And I think, yeah, we'll just try and wait for a DRS zone to try and make the move on Lewis Hamilton. But he needs a big result this weekend. Whether Leclerc was the Ferrari that binned it or not, he needs to try and take some points out of him, because otherwise that gap to Leclerc getting too big at the top of the table that he need a miracle in the last couple of rounds there. But through the final corner, I want to try and deny that of the Mercedes man of a couple of extra points here tonight. Let's try and have a look down the inside of turn 1. Oh, he wanted to try and turn in, but we'll get it stopped. And we're up at a 4th.
Good job.
And I'm not convinced they're going to be too useful by the end of the year, but maybe fastest lap bonus points could provide us something quite critical there. It's a 27.8.
Fastest lap of the race.
That's quicker than we managed in qualifying. I mean, admittedly, yeah, track conditions weren't perfect then, but that's pretty insane as well, that we've gone quicker than our pole lap there. But yeah, I'm a little bit nervous about trying to get around Stroll and Oscar, just because Stroll's still got the DRS. That might make things a little bit more difficult. I mean, for us now at this stage of the Grand Prix, in the ideal world, Lance Stroll, Oscar Piastri will fight each other and we'll slip by them both in one go there. But again, it looks like the Canadian just cannot get the run onto the Raffles Boulevard there to really have a look. We have got to make these moves, though, quite quickly, because obviously our advantage is going to get less and less as we get towards the end of the race. There is all again just brushing that wall as we make our way out down the short chute. You can just see now, again, we can afford to try and take different lines. We can afford to try and get air over the front wing, because we know we have got that little bit extra grip over Stroll at the moment there, as once again he'll claim the DRS off Oscar Piastri. And I tell you what, Oscar can't be far out of the range of Alonso at the front. But surely now Lance Stroll will be told by the team, you know, you've got to defend like a lion. Alonso has got a huge opportunity to win this one. You've got to try and make his life just that little bit easier. This is Lance Stroll, though, at the end of the day. He's known for being, well, not quite as much of a bottle job as I am, but he's not particularly good in his defensive driving either. His awareness, I think it's probably one of the lowest on the F1 grid as well. I could have had a look there. That could have been a really, really important time to go for a move. Just hold off that time around. There was using first gear through there is not what I wanted to do. And again, just through this next set of corners, no real opportunity to do anything. Unless you're either brave or stupid. And, well, I think I know which one I probably lean more towards. And nobody answer that down in the comments below there. As checking it over the Anderson Bridge again. Can we have a look for a move down the inside? Oh, I mean... if Daniel Ricciardo did that, you'd throw him a parade. All I'm going to see. Mark seemed happy with it as well. I don't believe Stroll got any damage, but we flung it down the inside. We did get it slowed down pretty much to the apex. In modern Formula 1, that is a fair and legitimate overtake. And surely then, with no DRS to defend himself, Oscar Piastri is going to be a bit of a sitting duck as we make our way back out then onto the back straight. We might be a bit too far back this time to go for a move, but actually you can see how much speed we're gaining on the McLaren man there. To the outside we'll go. We'll kind of open the door for me. I'll keep all four wheels inside the white line. Oscar Piastri, though, doesn't want to give up on it unless he absolutely has to. We'll try and give him a bit more racing respect than what we gave Lance Stroll. And up into P2 we'll go then once more. All eyes now on Fernando Alonso in front. But as the laps wind down then here in Singapore, Fernando Alonso, of course, he's won around this venue on a couple of occasions before.
20.3 seconds.
The first one, I think, still comes with a bit of an asterisk next to it, but I'm really starting to struggle. We're definitely going quicker than him so far. We need to get inside that DRS range. But the problem is I can just see every lap we're taking less time out of him the tyres are definitely starting to get towards the tipping point here late on in the afternoon, and we've just got to try and get to him. Well, 3 laps to go then of this race, and I'm just starting to worry that the tyres haven't got enough that we can get inside this DRS, but we're not going to be able to do any more than that against Fernando Alonso. I mean, I'll claim the free extra few tenths down that straight as well, and I'll try and claim it around the rest of the lap. But yeah, these tyres now just getting a bit more push from the front end there. They're just starting to disagree with the car a little bit more, but being inside that range is critical, because you know you get a free bit of time around the rest of the lap. Well, are we about to see Fernando Alonso claim his first F1 victory in over 10 years inside this series, or are we going to be able to bring the upset? We dominated the opening half of the Grand Prix. The pace in the car over the last few races, though, has certainly raised a lot of eyebrows by the other bigger teams, and I do believe we could be a threat next season if we can keep this rate of progression going. We've got plenty more big upgrades coming after the autumn break as well, ready for those final few rounds of the season. But are we going to be able to get close enough to Alonso? Not this time round. We need a couple of extra tenths out onto the Raffles Boulevard, but yeah, we've just about, I think, got enough of these tyres to try and hang close. It is just being smooth. Avoid the wheel spin and try to get right up on his gearbox. Oh, come on then, one more lap to go here in Singapore, and either way, it is going to be an immensely spectacular victory. Will it be the experienced Spaniard, or will it be us, the new upstart, with our own team branding on the back of the car as well? We just cannot get the power down out of these traction zones. We've got to try and do something special out onto the Raffles Boulevard here, and we've done pretty well nudging the wall on the exit. We're going to try and drain the battery, but I'm not convinced we're going to be close enough. Alonso's going to try and sit just a little bit defensive, break that slipstream down the back straight, and we get all over his gearbox into the next corner there. Tyre wear warning light now has flashed up, and I think that might have just been our last opportunity here. We'll keep rubbing up against the walls. We'll take everything out of the tyre on this last lap. If anything can open up for us, they're almost hitting the inside wall around the back part of the circuit as well. That could have been wheel gone and points lost. But Fernando Alonso, as he makes his way over the Anderson Bridge there, we can't do anything. The gamble has not paid off tonight in terms of the tyres. I thought we would have had enough, but we spent just a little bit too long behind Hamilton, Lance Stroll and Oscar Piastri here. And as Fernando Alonso makes his way in towards the final couple of corners, Aston Martin are going to be back on the top step of the Formula 1 podium once again. We're going to spoil their 1-2. I genuinely thought tonight the win would be on, but it is an agonising P2 finish.
Okay, good job, mate. Really, really well done. That was a fantastic drive. Bring it home.
Fernando Alonso has done it, and he takes the win.
Wow, that race really kept us on our toes with the ever-changing weather conditions. It is so unpredictable when you're in the car, with visibility being limited to know exactly what's going on. So the driver really made some great calls in this situation.
It's time to present the top drivers with their trophies for today's Grand Prix. There are a lot of people in the paddock very happy with this result. It's Aston Martin on the top step.
Well, there we go. From 4th on the grid, Fernando Alonso takes victory here in Marina Bay. What a drive it was by the Spaniard there. Used that undercut to absolute perfection, and no matter how much I hounded him towards the end of the afternoon, we just could not walk away with the dub there. Lance Stroll in P3 ahead of Piastri, Hamilton, Verstappen, Perez, Albon, Ocon and Tsunoda there. Neither Ferrari getting inside the top 10, and it was Leclerc that made the error. So Leclerc was the one that almost binned it earlier on in the GP, And that means Hamilton does take some points out of him in terms of the championship. Awassa as well, having an absolute stinker of an afternoon from the back of the field there. And Hulkenberg, our only driver who failed to see the checkered flag. That means championship-wise, the gap at the top is cut back down to just 46 points there. And I mean, Alonso, 76 points out. I certainly wouldn't put money on it at this stage of the campaign, but what a story that would be if he could get himself back in that title fight before the end of the year there. We make huge progress on Piastri and Sergio Perez. In fact, we might be able to get ahead of our teammate by the end of the year there, and that was quite good because obviously Stroll behind us as well scored a fair few points this weekend. Constructors-wise, Ferrari lose a bit of ground to Merc as well, but it could have been a whole lot worse there as Red Bull, McLaren and Aston Martin all continue to close in on each other towards the end of the season. We're now over the 100-point mark as a team, though, which I guess we can be pretty happy with as well there. And, of course, just like buses, never has our teammate scored a point in this series, and then suddenly Perez has done it 2 weekends in a row. I really do think this car is making good progress at the moment, and I'm hoping we're going to be able to fight for more big points in the future. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready in Kota.